Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy and I'm the knitter behind Knitting Matters, and in this episode I am going to walk you through making a Dagmar zipper sweater. So I have been wanting to make a Dagmar zipper sweater since the very moment the pattern was released. I knew I wanted to make something from the Dagmar series, and I was eyeing up the sweater and the jacket and I couldn't quite decide which one I wanted to make. And then the zipper sweater was released and it was an instant decision. I fell in love with it straight away. I thought it would be really practical for walking, for just autumn in the autumn or fall as an outer layer. It looks really warm and yeah, I just really loved it. I really loved the texture. So I have purchased my yarn for the project. So I very nearly purchased the recommended yarn, which is the Heel Holt Triple by Heel Holt Spinnery, I think it's called. The ethos and the feeling that I was getting when I was watching all of the marketing for the pattern was that she wanted to take something really pared back, a very basic, very plain rustic yarn, undyed, unprocessed, and make something really beautiful out of it. So I didn't want to use anything that was too processed, and I also was getting a feeling that she was trying to encourage, buying local, using local, and so that was the only thing that stopped me from purchasing the recommended yarn for the pattern. So I went along to my local yarn store to sort of ask their advice and to have a little snoop in the bins and see what they had lying around. And I came across the West Yorkshire Spinners Fleece Aran, the Blue Face Leicester. They had a hank of that there. And I had a look at the ball band and I had a look on the website, and it was exactly the same meterage per 100 grams. Which told me that the yarn was exactly the same thickness. So I spent a bit of time rubbing it on my neck and making sure that I wasn't going to be too sensitive to it. And they didn't have the other colours in store, they only had the light brown, but to be honest, that's probably the one that I would have chosen anyway. So I've purchased that. I've got 10 hanks of it, which is probably going to be too much, but I would rather have a little bit too much than play yarn chicken. I hate playing yarn chicken. So if you are interested in watching me make it, I plan on, if there's any mistakes I make or anywhere that I stumble, I plan on trying to record that as well. And I know lots of people struggle with the zip, so I'm going to try and remember to film lots about the zip as well. So if you are interested in watching me make a Dagmar zipper sweater, then this is absolutely the video for you. Grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's get into it. I just want to check in and give you a little update on how it's going with my Dagmar. I knit a couple of centimetres, I think 2 or 3 centimetres of the pattern before I realised that you were supposed to do the increases on every row. So these side increases here for the shoulders, and I had only done them on the right side rows. So because I'd only done a couple of centimetres, I ripped the whole thing back and started again. And then it was going really swimmingly, really smoothly. And I was doing increases on every row and I wasn't paying attention, and I continued to do increases on every row. And when it got to being about this big, I thought that it was looking a little bit wide and that maybe I'd made the wrong size. So I went back and read the pattern and realised I was supposed to stop doing the increases around here. So I had to rip that back again. And at that point, I sort of lost a bit of motivation because I'd had to rip it back twice already. But it is entirely my fault for not reading the pattern correctly. It is nothing to do with the pattern, the quality of the pattern writing. I've come to expect nothing less than excellence from PetiteKnit, and that is what you get from this pattern as well. It is very clearly written. I just wasn't reading it properly. So as you can see, I'm really well established in the pattern now. So I've got these beautiful cables running through. They run in opposite directions. This honeycomb center, a bit of 1x1 cabling here, and then moss stitch on the outside. So I'm very close to finishing the back yoke now. I just have a little bit left. I'm almost at the end of my first skein. Sorry, that's my cable needle. I keep it in the middle of my ball of yarn so I know where it is, but I'm almost at the end now. I think I've only got a couple of more rows left and then that one will be complete. So I just, wanted to check in and say it's going well. I think size-wise, I'm hoping it's going to be, it looks like it's going to be on the oversized side of things, and obviously once it's blocked, those cables will relax. But so I'm really enjoying the yarn. It's really soft, and actually once I've been knitting on this, I do feel my hands are a little bit softer. So I think there is a bit of lanolin perhaps still in here, which I'm really enjoying. So that's where we're at with the Dagmar. I did read ahead and I've noticed once I've completed this, my next instruction is to pick up stitches along here for the right shoulder, and along here for the left shoulder. And then I'll be able to join in the round. But now I'm established with the pattern and I finish the increases, I'm actually really enjoying the pattern as it has been established. So yeah, that's where I am with the Dagmar. today it is absolutely, we would say, raining cats and dogs in the UK, which basically means it's raining constantly. The sun has just come out, but it has been raining all day, so I have treated myself to a bit of knitting hibernation and I've made loads of progress. So I have just finished my second skein of yarn and I'm about to join my third, but I thought I would just do a quick update before I do that. So I think it's been a little while since I did an update. So I was on the back yoke for a long time, had to frog it 3 times or twice, and then I lost motivation a little bit. So I'm really enjoying the structure. I really love the way these big loose cables complement these really small tight ones. I love the feel of the yarn. Once I finish knitting on this one, my hands always feel really soft. So I think there's a little bit of lanolin still in the yarn, which I love. So yeah, the back yoke just flew off the needles once I had actually got my act together and was doing it properly. So these stitches are now on hold, waiting for me to finish the front. So the next step is to join the left and right shoulders. So I had a bit of trouble because I think I must have made a mistake somewhere. I mean, I ripped it back 2 or 3 times, so it would make sense. But when I was picking up the stitches, the cables weren't lining up. So I did take a image, so I'll try and pop the image in so you can see what I'm talking about. But I had to pick up the stitches 3 or 4 times before I could get them all to line up to my satisfaction. This one is still slightly off, but I think after the amount of times that I had to pick up stitches, I gave up caring about that in the end. I really am enjoying the way that this cable sort of starts to then slant off in the other direction and is a continuation. So I love that attention to detail that PetiteKnit wrote into the pattern. So I finished doing the left side. I had the same issue on the right side and interestingly have the same issue on the same cable on this side as well. But I have since finished both the left and the right front, and this morning, just not that long ago, connected them, the left and the right front here at the underside of where the zip facings will go. So I now am starting to see it take shape. It's starting to look like a zipper sweater, so I can see where the facings will go and then my collar will rise up. And I am really itching to cast on the facings and the collar. I really want to do that. I'm going to resist the temptation there because I think I need a bit more stability in this bottom section here. So I think potentially after I do complete the next skein, potentially I will then do the zipper and the facings and the collar, but I'll see how I feel then. So I still have another 10 centimeters or so to knit. I think on the back, yeah, I've got the rest of this diamond to do. So I've got the whole diamond to do on the front, and then I'll be in the same place that I ended on the back, and then I'll be able to join in the round. So I still have another 10 centimeters or so to go on this one. But if I just show you without stabbing myself with the needles, how we're looking so far. So I'm really enjoying the fit. It is supposed to have a drop shoulder design for the sleeves, and I'm really pleased that I'm already seeing the shape of the drop shoulder before I've even blocked it. So once I've blocked it, I'm sure these cables will open up and relax and that drop shoulder will be even more exaggerated, which is a good thing. I did size up because I wanted it to be a big oversized sweater, so I'm really pleased about that. There, so you can see where the details are. I'm really excited about how this is looking. I can just imagine myself with a zip here ready to go. So I am about to wet splice my third ball here. This is where I've just run out of yarn. These are the ends that have come elsewhere. So yeah, I was on the wrong side row and I ran out about here, so I'm going to add that one in. And then yeah, you can see on the back it comes down to about here, so midway through my bust, which I think will be a great size for the underarms. So yeah, another 10 centimeters or so on the front, and then I'll be ready to join in the round, which will be exciting. But yeah, that's my progress so far. And I love it. I'm very excited for the way this is looking. Yeah. I've made another mistake. So I had got to the point where I had finished the front yoke and I had finished the back yoke, and I was ready to join in the round. Yeah, join connect together under the arms and join in the round. And I noticed that the honeycomb stitch in the center panel of this pattern is over a 4-row repeat, and on the front panel I was on row 2 of that 4-row repeat, and on the front panel I was on row 4 of that 4-row repeat, which really annoyed me, and I couldn't quite figure out why that was the case. So I spent a long time studying and looking at my work and realised that what I had done was on the back panel, on this final diamond that I had been working. So when you get to the edge of this diamond, you have 2 rows where you don't do any cabling. There's no twisting. They just are knit straight. Just these 2 edge rows, and then you start cabling to bring it back in again. And what I had done on this diamond was I had knit 4 rows without doing anything before bringing it back in again. And I had done that on both sides of the back. So that was why my honeycomb in the middle was on, as you can see, I'm on row 4 of the repeat here, but I was only on row 2 of the repeat on the front, and I just couldn't figure out. It took me ages to figure out why. Anyway, I thought about it for a long time, and I did think that I didn't care that much about it, and that the diamond would just be a little bit bigger on one of the diamonds on the back panel, that nobody would notice, nobody would see it unless I pointed it out. And even once I pointed it out, it was so tiny that I don't think anyone would have seen it. So I wasn't going to do anything about it. And then I started connecting in the round. And on the first row, I already started to get annoyed that I was having to cable on one side, but not on the other on that round. And I just know that every single round I did for the rest of the body, that would annoy me the whole time. So I considered laddering down and just correcting the cable, which I did do on the front. I'd made a slight mistake on this one, so you can see I've sort of semi-blocked this one already because I'd made a mistake. I'd laddered down, corrected it, and I just wanted to make sure that the stitches would lay flat again, which they have. So yeah, I considered laddering down and just correcting the diamonds that way, but I thought laddering down on both sides would look quite obvious, so I just decided to rip it back. Yeah, which is a bit annoying, especially now I'm holding it up and I can see how much of my work I've ripped out, but I've done it now. So I've ripped it back. I have just tinked back the final row just to make sure that I've picked up all the stitches and that they're all aligned correctly. So I'm just going to finish doing that now, and then we'll be ready to join in the round. And I think we actually will be ready to join in the round then. So fingers crossed I don't mess up again. Okay, quick update. I have now completed the back yoke with ending on the right side road. So I've corrected that mistake that I made back here and reknit that. And the front yoke is now complete. So I'm just going to do a quick try on, but I think we're about ready. Ooh. Tangled in the yarn. Oh my goodness, yes, definitely. Oh, this is going to be huge. There we go. So I think once it's sitting, my only concern is that when it's blocked, it's actually going to be a bit too big, but I did say to my husband, if it works out being too big for me, then he can have it and I'll make myself another one. But yeah, there we go. So exciting progress update. So I'm going to connect in the round now. Maybe I've got it slightly off centre. There we go. So that's what it looks like from the back. And then once we connect in the round, it should sit nicely. Yeah, because I think that goes at the top of my neck there, doesn't it? Perfect. Yep, I'm very happy with that. So now I'm going to join in the round, and then I will check back in once I've done a bit more of the body. Hi, thought I'd give you a quick update because I have just finished my 3rd skein of yarn and I'm about to join in my 4th. So she's here ready to go, but before I join her on, I thought I would just show you where we're at. So really pleased with how the neckline is looking. I think the last time I updated, I had just joined in the round, or was just about to join in the round perhaps. This arm depth is really big. I'm not sure if it's going to be a bit too big, but I mean, I guess I really wanted it oversized, and it is going to be drop shoulder, so maybe that will make a difference. But yeah, we'll see how it's going. So I've just got a bit of barber cord here so I can try it on. But this is where we're at after 3 skeins of yarn. So now I've joined in the round, I'm just going round and around and around in pattern, which is very satisfying. So yeah. Hi everyone, I just wanted to do a quick update before I join my 5th ball of yarn. So this is what 400 grams of the Blueface Leicester is looking like. And I know I said when I finished the next ball of yarn that I was probably going to do the collar and the zip facing, but I feel like I'm really close to finishing the body, so I actually don't want to do that anymore. The pattern recommends that you stop the body either at the apex of one of these diamonds or at the widest part. So I think what I'm going to do is, you can see I've just started another one here. I'm going to go to the widest point of the diamond that I'm currently working on, and then I think by the time I've added the ribbing that will make it a nice length for me, which I think I'm happy with that. So I feel like I'm really close to finishing the body, so I actually don't want to lose momentum now, so I'm going to just keep going with that. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way it's looking so far. I can't wait to block it and for all of these cables to relax out, but I'm going to resist the urge to do that. I still feel like the arms are really deep, but I don't feel like that's going to be an issue. It is drop shoulder, and it just means that my arms are going to have lots of they're not going to be too tight. So yeah, this is where we're at so far. Exciting. I have almost finished one sleeve, but I've run out of yarn. Look how close to the end of the cuff I am. I think I'm only going to do another row or two, and then I'll start the Italian bind off. So I do need to join another ball of yarn in, but so close, got so close. Please ignore my safety pins. This is just me marking decreases, but yeah, that is where we're at. I really like the way that the arm looks. I no longer feel like it's too deep. I mean, it is still really deep, but it feels comfortable, you know? So hi everyone, just wanted to give a quick update on my Dagmar zipper. So as you can see, I now have a complete body and a complete left sleeve, which I'm really pleased with. Looks very nice, and I think has completely changed the whole look of it. So I'm not as worried about that big deep armhole anymore, because I think that looks good. I've just hit a little bump in the road, so I've just noticed last night that I've only put one twist in this cable. So I'm just going to ladder down and fix this little mistake, and then I'm going to carry on with my sleeve. But I thought I would show you how I do that, so let's get this fixed. I have made a mistake all the way down here where I have only twisted this cable once, where if you notice on this one, it is twisted twice. I've only twisted it once, which means firstly it doesn't look right, but secondly it has meant that these stitches are all out of line with these. So that's how I noticed it, because I normally have a twist on this cable when you get to a junction here, which I didn't have, so I thought, what's gone wrong there? And as you can see, it's because there is only one twist here. So I'm going to show you how I correct that. So first thing I'm going to do is decide which row I want to go back to, and I'm going to insert a double pointed needle across and pick up any and all of the stitches across that row. So that should hopefully save my stitches as I drop them down. I'm going to drop these central ones, but not the two on the edge there, because they're not going to change. So keep these stitches on here, and what I'm going to do is frog back one row at a time. So 1, 2. Okay, so once you have all of your stitches back on the needle, what you're going to do is reknit them, and using each of these threads one by one as you're working yarn. Hi everyone, just wanted to give another quick update, because as you can see I now have 2 completed sleeves. So I mean, how pretty is that cabling down the side of the sleeve? Yep, so fixed my mistakes on the sleeves, they're now complete, the body is now complete and bound off. Every time I try it on I think, oh, I wish it had a bit more positive ease, but I am clinging on to the fact that it isn't blocked yet, and I know once it's blocked it will gain a bit more room. Because I do feel like the armhole depth is disproportionate to the amount of positive ease it has everywhere else. But that's a story for another day. What I wanted to update you on today is the neck facing for the zip and the collar. So I had intended to do this a little bit sooner, but I hadn't, when I read the instructions I saw that it was 3 pages long just for that section, so I thought I would leave it until the end. So I've had a good read of them. I feel well prepared to make a start. So that is coming up next. So yeah, almost there now. Okay, so I'm using the bigger needle just to do the picking up, but I will change to the recommended needle size when it comes to knitting. I just want my pickup edge to be slightly looser because I tend to be on the tight side. So I am using barber cord here, and so I have interpreted the instructions to say that as you pick up the stitches for the neckline, that you also have a yarn over on either a spare cable, a spare needle, or a needle holder. So I'm using this barber cord as my needle holder, and the way I am doing this is I'm going into my stitch to pick up, and I am wrapping the barber cord like I would if I were doing a second colour in a colourwork sweater. So hold it like a piece of yarn, continental, English style throwing. So you knit and hold it up to wrap it around, pull the stitch through, and then on the second stitch you pull it down, and then the yarn you can see is wrapping over it there. Just do a few more of those. So lift it up and then push it down. Lift it up. Hold it down. And by doing it that way around, you will have the equal number of stitches on the needle as you will on the barber cord on the other side. So I'm going to continue doing that all the way around my neckline. So I have finished picking up all the stitches for the collar. So this is not for the facing where the zip will go. This is just for the neck edge. And as you can see, I've used the bigger needle just to do the pickup row. I'm going to switch to my smaller recommended needle size here. But for every stitch that we have on the needle here, on the back, we then also have an equal number of stitches on the stitch holder. So now I'm going to follow my next instruction and knit the rib collar. I have now knit the full length of the collar according to the pattern and left those stitches on a stitch marker. The next instruction is to pick up the stitches for a double knit button band or the zip facing. And as I understand it, I need to pick up the stitches, one for every stitch, starting here, all the way down. Pick up in between the stitches here, so there'll be 7 picked up here, and then all the way up, so that my needle will form that kind of shape. So starting here and ending here. So I'm just going to do that, and then we'll come back. Follow that instruction. So I started here and picked up a stitch, one for every row, which feels like a lot of stitches, but that's what the pattern says, it's necessary. So, and that has continued all the way around, and my working yarn is now here. Okay, the next instruction is to redistribute the needle cable so that these needle tips are pointing down. This loop will be crossing along the top here, and at the bottom we will have our 7 stitches on a 3mm double pointed needle. So I am just going to rearrange my stitches and then we'll be back to begin the double knitting. Okay, so I have completed the next instruction, which was to move the circular needle all the way around. So the loop of cable is now here. I just slipped these stitches onto this side. So now my circular needle is orientated the correct way. And I have put the 7 central stitches on a double pointed needle here. And I took just a little bit of extra time to make sure that it was lined up perfectly in the middle of this honeycomb circle cable here,
because I know that that's the kind of thing that will annoy me when it's finished if I've put that off center. So I have the 7 stitches here, and I've checked that I have an equal number of stitches on both sides, which I do. So now I'm ready to continue. Okay, so we're going to start working the double knit band here. So we're going to slip 1 from the right hand needle. This is the first stitch that I've taken off of this side now. And which one's my working yarn? That one. So then we're going to knit those 2 together. Slip with yarn in front, knit 1, slip with yarn in front, knit 1, slip with yarn in front, knit 1, slip with yarn in front, split the yarn, and then we're going to knit 2 together with the first stitch from this needle. Oops, hang on, my yarn is in front. There we go, okay. Like that. And there is our first complete row of double knitting there. So I've worked the 2 setup rows, and that's my first double knit row. So then we turn, and we are going to work 1 more row of double knit. So done. So that is the first 4 stitches of double knit that have been worked. Okay, so I have knit the first 4 setup rows for my double knitting. You can see it's just started here. So the next instruction is to slip 1 stitch from the right hand needle here on the right front onto the left, knit those 2 together, and continue double knitting. So that's knit 1, bring the yarn forward and slip, knit 1, bring the yarn forwards, and slip, knit 1, bring the yarn forwards, slip, knit 1, bring the yarn forwards and slip, and then right at the very end here we are going to knit 2 together with one of the stitches from what is the right hand side, but it's on my left needle. So we're just going to knit, oops, hang on, my yarn's, take my yarn to the back, and then we're going to knit those 2 together. Okay, and we're going to turn. We're going to knit another row double knitting, so slip that first one, so that is the second setup for the double knitting placket. So the instruction says to do that a couple more times, so I'm going to do that and then we'll come back. Okay, so I have now worked, don't know how clearly you can see that, the recommended number of repeats for the bottom placket for the zip in double knitting, so you see that on the back side as well there. And the next instruction will see us splitting these off, because now we're going to work the right side. So this, it looks left on the screen, but it's the right side of the jumper, so or the sweater, sorry, for my non-English or UK viewers. So we're going to knit across these, leave these ones to rest, and then with a double pointed needle I'm then going to continue double knitting up this side, and then we will come back and do the left side. So we are still going to double knit okay, so we're going to leave that half there now on that side of the needle. I might tuck that in there so that it's out of the way. And now we're going to start working on this half. So you can see we've split them 2, 4, 6 on that side, and then we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 on this side. So, and then on this last stitch we're going to knit 2 together but through the back loop. So this is my first stitch from here, and this is the stitch from my double knit placket there. So we're going to do that. Oops. There we go. Okay, so now we have an even number of stitches on each side with one cast off in the middle, and we're going to keep double knitting up along this side. Okay, so this is my final row. This is my last stitch now on the left needle, so I'm just going to do these together. So the next instruction says to cast off in Italian binding. So the issue that I have with that is that I can see, maybe I shouldn't have done that last row, but anyway, so I have done the whole of this side now, and I can see that when this is folded over, the zip will be nicely encased in between or sandwiched in between these two bits of fabric here. But if I cast off here, then that means that the back, sorry, get all these bits out of the way, the back of the zip that's going to be on this side is going to be exposed, and I'm not sure I want that. I think I would quite like the back side of the zip to have something to cover it. So I'm considering just leaving these stitches on hold. I'll wait and do the other side and see what it looks like when it's finished, but if necessary, I'm considering continuing to make, oh, sorry, all these bits everywhere. I'm considering continuing, instead of casting these off, continuing down just to make sure that there's some casing for the back of the zip as well, so that it doesn't irritate on my skin. But yeah, that's not in the instruction, that's just my thought of the minute. So that is the double knit edge for the front complete.
what I'm doing here is picking one stitch off the back needle, placing it on the front needle like that, knitting those 2 stitches together, and then passing that one over like that. Okay, so again, picking one off the back needle, placing it on the front needle, knitting those 2 together, and passing it over. Okay. Cast one off, and that gives you this really nice, neat, joined up edge here. Okay, so technically now I have finished all the instructions, and all I need to do is weave in my ends and sew in my zip. I have finished putting the collar down, and I think I have decided that instead of doing the Italian bind off as recommended in the pattern here, I'm going to pick up some stitches down the front here and do a bit more double knitting to hide the underside of the zipper. And then hopefully we'll be finished. So I have picked up stitches to the bottom of here on both sides and put the stitches on hold on double pointed needles, and I'm just going to do some double knitting down this side first, see how that looks, and if I don't like it I can always take this out and cast off in Italian bind off as recommended in the pattern. So yeah, let's see how this goes. Hi everyone, just wanted to do one last quick update before I block. So I have now finished all the knitting, including the additional double knit band that I did down the side. So the pattern, just to recap, says to stop here with the double knitting and do Italian bind off, which would meant that the exposed side of the zip would be against your skin. I have a zip here. This isn't the zip that I'll be using for this sweater, obviously, but just to demonstrate, what I wanted to do was to continue that double knit band down so that it completely enclosed the zip. So my plan, when the zip that I'm going to use arrives, is that it will sit nicely in between these 2 bands of fabric with just the teeth exposed, and I just think it'll give a more comfortable feel. So again, this is the inside of the jumper, so I just think it'll be a bit more comfortable against my skin. And obviously I'll cut it to size and then sew this bottom edge down, but I'm not going to weave in these ends until I've blocked everything, until my proper zip has arrived, just in case I want to unravel it and knit to pattern. But that is the modification that I have made, and I think that will work really nicely. So if I tuck it in there and stitch it in place, I think that'll be nice. So yeah, let's get her blocked. So another quick update is that my new zip has arrived. So I ordered the 23 centimetre zip. I can't remember what size the pattern actually recommends, but I ordered the 23 centimetre zip thinking that that would be plenty, and it is in fact plenty. But I had lots of extra tape and I didn't want to cut the zip, so I ordered the 17 centimetre one. This one is the PetiteKnit zip and it is in the colour hazelnut.
comes with a little PetiteKnit tag there as well. So this is the 17cm zip, which I think is going to be a much better fit and actually just sits perfectly in that space. So that is the one that I'm going to be sewing in. I have got my thread to tack it into place. I have got, which is obviously a very loud contrast colour, I have got my thread to stitch it into place. So yeah, we're going to get that done today so I can start wearing this baby. Okay. Okay, so I have tacked the zip in place with these big pink contrast colour stitches. So hopefully that will stop it from moving when I'm actually stitching it in place. And I'm super pleased that, I don't know if you can see here, but the very base of the zip lines up perfectly with the what would you call it, the trough of my facing for the zip. So I am really pleased with that. So this zip is the perfect length. There is a little bit of tape that I will stitch on the inside, but I'll get to the inside in a minute. I'm just going to concentrate now on putting the fixing stitches in place for the zip, and for that I'm going to be using back stitch, and I'm going to be using this Gutermann thread, which is the closest colour I can find. So usually I try to find either the perfect match or one shade darker, but I can't find that, so I've got slightly lighter. But if I do it properly, you won't be able to see any of my stitches anyway. So yeah, I'm going to get that done and then I'll come back. So that is the front in place. As you can see, my stitches are not particularly neat, but that doesn't matter. I'm now going to remove the pink thread holding that in place because I don't need it anymore. Okay, so now that one is tacked in place and the zip works. It's nice and close to the teeth edge, which is what I am looking for. So I will do the same on this side, and then I will tack the facing over to sandwich the other side of the zip in place. But I'll do this side first. Okay. So on the back, you can just see that we've got this open section here where the zip is attached on the front. So I've accidentally caught that this facing here, but I think that will be all right. So I am going to do a slightly different stitch on the back. I'm going to be doing a running stitch or a prick stitch where I just gather a little bit of fabric here, a little bit of fabric here, and bring the two together. So it should be a bit quicker. I have decided that I'm really happy with the modification I did to continue down here, so I'm going to leave that. And then the very final thing, so you can see we've just got a teeny bit of the zipper tape poking out the bottom here, so I will tuck that in, and the very final thing I will do then is use these threads to close the zip in here, and then she'll be finished. So I've got my thread, got my needle.
Hi everyone, so this is my final update because my Dagmar zipper is now complete. So as you can see, I have finally got round to putting the zipper in, and I find it oh so satisfying that the bottom of the zip lines up perfectly with the dip in my facing. So here she is, complete. I'm really happy with the final result. I'm really happy with my yarn choice. I think the Blueface Leicester has really shows off these cables beautifully, and especially since blocking. I think they've opened up and I think it just looks really lovely. And also it has become a lot softer since I blocked it. So it's still quite a rustic wool, don't get me wrong, but it's soft enough that I can tolerate having it completely zipped up and having it around my neck, which for me is the most sensitive area to itchiness. There is a slight itchiness to it, so I think if you're very sensitive, then this probably wouldn't be a good yarn choice, but for most, I think it's a really good yarn choice. So the only thing that I wish I had done differently was the depth of the yoke, because I find the armhole depth to be a bit too deep, and I just think it looks a little bit odd. I mean, it's not often that I walk around with my arms outstretched and my sleeves pulled down like this. I'm emphasising it here, but I do just think it could do with not having such deep armholes. So I kind of wish that I had stopped the yoke either here or here instead of all the way, down here. So that would be the only thing that I would change if I could go back and knit it again, but I'm I don't care about it enough to frog the body back. We're not going down that road. So I used the PetiteKnit zipper because I really like this antique brass puller that it comes with. And the only there are two modifications or two things, or three. So the yarn was the first thing that I did differently to the pattern, so I used my own yarn choice. The second thing was that the double knit facing for the zipper was supposed to stop at the bottom of the neckband. Here I continued that all the way around and created this little pocket to house the zip. So I would definitely do that again. I think that was a good choice. I didn't end up unraveling it, so I'm really pleased with the way that that looks. And the third modification was the size of the zip. So the pattern recommended, I think, a 35 centimetre zipper. I purchased a 23 centimetre zipper, which I've shown you before, so I won't go over it again, but essentially it came down to about here. And I thought I would just give the 17 centimetre one a try to see if it was a better fit, and it is the perfect fit. So I'm really happy with the finished item. It's really warm and I'm really pleased that I finished it in September. That was my goal, to have it finished in September, ready for the autumn. And it is very rainy and very wet here in September 2025 in the UK. So I'm delighted to have this as part of my wardrobe. And I think I will be making another one. I think I'm going to be making one for my husband, who really enjoys the look of this, and I'm sure he will be able to tolerate this yarn as well. So watch this space. I may be making another one, probably in the dark brown, like a chocolate brown. I think it's 003, the shade of the Blue Fleece Leicester Aran Weight by the West Yorkshire Spinners. So anyway, I think this video has been long enough. If you have enjoyed it, if you've got this far, thank you so much for watching. Please do give it a thumbs up, a like and a subscribe if you feel that you have enjoyed it and you would like to see more content from me. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!